sani ebetu akɔwi ɛyɛma bibifo anaasɛ ɛnyɛma yɛn kwasi broni trim popa ɛne senti a wɔde vaccination ɛba abibiman mu na family plan so so mpo no ɛhyehyɛ bɛn ana kwasi broni hyehyɛ yɛ ɛwɔ de krom enti a wɔde ɛtoa yɛn ɛba ne sɛn ana gay ate atese ɛwɔ wiase afana nyinara ɛnɛ wei sɛ illuminati ɛnɛ wei sɛ freemason ɛnɛ wei sɛ sumwe mu ne nyinara ahyase afiri he na obroni trim po a wɔde saa nneɛma wei nyinara ɛba no de atoa abibiman mu no ɛne sɛn wei entram so hwɛ wake up africa kwasi da wei ne kwasi da bia awia dumienu ɛkɔpem awia no mienu live Royal TV ɛyɛ dwumadi a ɔfa poku danko yɛ executive director ɛde Free the Mind movement ɛne ɔfa Israel Nkroma a ɛyɛ coordinator ɛde Free the Mind movement no ɛbɛka me Michael Asma ho na yɛsim konwa no madi dwumadi ho kyia me na ɛnsɛm bi ati sei no yɛgyina twerɛ kronkron so abakɔsɛm ɛne ntwerɛ ahodoɔ so na ɛdeɛ mo ho baabi a obibini ufiri ɛne mu a ɛduro ɛne som a wosombo na mabrɔfo sisi akyɛ ɛbra so sɛ call together twerɛ ne kaeɛ no ɛtumi bam ne no ana ahyɛ aseɛ Free the Mind movement dwumadi ɛfrɛ sɛ Wake Up Africa dwumadi so praso sɛ yɛfa dwumadi live Royal TV so kwasiada wei ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu kopim no mienu na yɛagye wo so adwenkyerɛ ne wasɛm bisa yɛyɛ ano ɛde ama wo Wake Up Africa abibiman moma yɛn sɔre.
Oh la la minua adentina assassin samo ayɛ wo dadwene jiwa subo na me mo nkyeremu sawo pesa se esi dan ana filling station me kamfo KY Real Estate about KY Real Estate in Saseno manso semu bia ne ho na langade san samia ne ho KY Real Estate wan sase wo mia bit sa Apollonia Akrama Ensumia Dobro Ahiabu Dowenya Chopoli Dawa Katamanso Sege and Central University ewa afrawo kwantimpon no so esan se KY Real Estate in Sase who ni sensem ntino wana wodi kan etoton Sase no efiti ase esisi wona dan yi a hwe ensi na won so wo twa ne dean KY Real Estate chia kwan wo Bombaria any ashaman so KY Real Estate wo Lebanon any old police station di hwe ni mu penyin pa woda KY Real Estate anone na odi ahenkan yabo a frano wahoma trufo iso 0203 936 446 ana 0543 995 919 KY Real Estate wasumo bajo wa wasase so
Amuna oba ye krumse oba betray yamesu etre no to nipa etre no
ba Wake Up Africa dwumadi so sena wonum no edu kwesire bia mene wo yetena se na edi enkomo efa eye nyama ekoso wiase ene tro konkron sem anase Bible mu enkomodi e wo Bible mu nyina no empenifo nyinu enya adagire ema itumi eti ase eye kwesire bia no say kweside betwe mu no yentumi enhia wo no you ma repeat ma utumi nya a view of what we have done already na wotwe ya yesimu another week to continue the program na and I said topic na ya hyase no Jesse to home come on ana yegusu a yedi na obebisa se part ben edinka etwa part 3 egu we part 4 ene yeriba beto aso na yakomu yedi nkomo a mwenhwam ye ankasa yengina yenim se Jesuit fo no yenhyeda ennim omabakwasem na wafanya pokura nkwa ama yehu Jesuit abakwasem bebi omu firiba ene bebi omu di wiase no eko saa so na Israel ma yehu se Jesuit ya ye kwa omasem no omato apiti wo wiase especially Ghana ha kura no ebi wa ha na even nsoro bebre mu no Jesuit fo ewom abrekwa mu fo mu Jesuit kura mpo a omu odin bi a omu de fo mu ewo nsoro bi mu na Roman fo de omu de ni Jesuit eno nkomo na ye di a afedi e ko wie bebi a yare kasamfuni eba ebetwetwe mu a yehu de ekoso awa abra Titanic ship no bebi ekwa akwesi ekwan mo fa so esenke ye no na nka me no ya adwin na se ka Titanic ship e de lovely nkomo na ma ba kwa kowu a ba kwa atenase nanso Titanic ship no agenda bi o mu create ya sene be ya esikafo na man pino so say nka yen create the reserve banks no omunti na ye create sa na say ye manufacture sa Titanic ship a enko wiase no omudodo na ekohye nsu ase a omuwuye na so be kai a baby e du ye no na nka peni bi ne wo fa ase baako na nka ka ho na nka ka bibia nka also ba be kobi na e photographer na so won ye ba ye no o se ke wunimu a anka fiship we mu na ko ahon komo na yedi video ba ko mienu bi etata so sene be ya obeti Jesuit fo nkasa omasomase ena ofa di giant say ya beto aso na ene de en de minim de ewo ho saa so na Israel ma yehu say Jesuit fo saa na mote de a ye read nsam a ema Jesuit fo sene be ya obama obehu omudwumedi e ekoso ewo wiase especially omoma sebio president sebio ahemfo nyina to me small boy esan say omokasa omeka no ana say pope kasa omeka no ma bibia ekoso na wo a obes ye wa adwen say obe interrupting na say o kasa wonye no de ende wa wonimu a enti Israel so my video a ema president Nana Akufo-Addo visit pope saa so na mpenifo bebre mu visit pope na ni nyina no Israel ma yete ase se bibi ena wo ho enti na ma omukọ visit wo mu no ena so ye ba beto so na ma jumedi no ayede esan se ena 7th January ena so ekusiada ye to jumedi no so se na be ya obete ase na bibia akoso pepepe na before say madam penifo na di no Zion ladies program no endra ena a course so ewo Kumase na it was very marvelous ankasa na bibia a course bia no man nyina ase obibia oba bia no omoda omase especially Kumase man na ombegina nimu a Mama Africa stick and idea more mono edina yirami ye sure say jawili udi dey be maneme na yetumi ado masi ankasa san say omabo ejuma pai so na usi wuli wabo ejuma ankasa Mr. Pare ene Kobna endra mo ma ye hu adwiri ye sa so na endra de course nyina no obi bibia ohwiri bia odwumedie na se efa de course bia no oba de enhye na name sa so na ma ekunafo no mo ba nyina no e ma sese mo betena ase na dwumedie no e course pepepe e ma ye nyina erenka na aka no beso so na aseda pace ye wo ho no empenifo ni nyina e de amamo isanse mabo ejuma so no ankasa enti me kompenifo no se na be ya bibia be course nti ma me ma wonti asese dwumedie obetumi aka ho na bibia aye pepepa na se wo to comment and also text message about social media handle Wake Up Africa GH or YouTube saso na Wake Up Africa GH or Facebook saso obetumi a text your normal SMS 05046430052 o text ba e be ready amount kai say normal no a o be text message na say o text o message afa so no enye no na o be free ebredu na ese say bia homan na o fra e de sa normal no be 2 TV na se na otumi afre na so de otimi po efa ene jumedie no kai say ene jumedie no ho asem na o be ka bibia fa ho ene medie no Michael Asma me na medi jumedie no charming ma memba empelifo na di na bibia enko so pepepe ema yina obezo
okay
makwaba
joso
apo mu e
boko
bibia boko
oh yeah
ene so yase aba
yeah ebeto aso good
over Mike Jose go for Mike Fifi ogun fo mi ale ogun fo mi kan ase kan ase over bo mo boko bia boko ase aba na otu ba ko ni de betwe mu go ye ene e de ba be shi mu amomo na bibia to aspepe wafa em se na watwe mi no etwe mu no woma ehu abakwasem bebre efa Jesuit for ho in terms of omonyama omoye am say questions by and me sure say bia obe answer bia my na say obe skip
na questions by
yes sure be bisa questions bisa
okay
and bia message ni me yama over na so ya another day to continue this Jesuit problem here omudi abatu we see so ye pese yehu omundwumedi e koso we asese na be ya nipa bia no ombedan ho so na wonu se sa na e koso dia na you say Jesuit for na say Roman for ya ene e breaking ye na se na be ya yehu de e koso and so another addition to the Jesuit in comedy over taking the saying e fa wen so
fifi mi da se na de di kan ne be chia arefo nyina
okay
na me be do house me do studio na ja Kumase for no boy dey see ye nti no the medical can say Zion ladies over body madam
okay
oma ya diama ahye nyina nkran ama sisi na si etimi ye de chain de ye is so omo krampo ladies omo tumi atu anamon ka si etisi etimi akukuma se akọ ye eduma ka si etisi dia ene na emema no brothers ma mo so mo ho no ede na mo so mo de ba honi indiane me to no mam okay mam nko share chiri nko kan say pass over no ye ne ye da mo program mema program mo so famra okay ye se ni city enti mama Africa woni Zion ladies nyina asida peace ni ade mamu senia ebe shemu nkran motimi aye de mu ye yi emoho ende ama yi nyina na ma enije ye damase
okay
na wie no na ye ba de no so a na otwumi no twam ena beda na di se Titanic ship enye se eno a na di ne pe ena sinke nemu enam bibi so ena kofa baare na bibi na kofa baare no ye kan ho asem ni nyina gina Federal Reserve Bank bia
okay
no mpeso mo de ba binum efo aso binum so mfo aso the Titanic as a ship no de wo mo tu wo mo bu ase en wo mo hihye engineer sa sinking tine bia mo ye ni biara ye ba be hwe infonini bi pictures
okay
di kan atoaso because no ye entoaso last week ye kan ni ye bo owu adidi JP Morgan
yeah
ebo ni din na enhwehwe mu so ma enema bibia ba bededi na ye ko enim no ye di beka ebize ekwan potin question eba ya ye bisa ne se nti aye bia Titanic ne ye sinke no on purpose ana
okay
ye de edi kan hu na question ye bisa ye no eno kasafuni no ebeda ni mo bebre adi di ntia Titanic fate no ekoba ase ne ba ye na ansa ne bedru ho no ena me ka se ye hwe Titanic na nkasa
okay
pictures bia ye de ba be ka se ebize Titanic me tinte ene ne kase nyina no na ye 882 feet long
okay
and the 882 more construction more calculate my the 882 feet
okay
and air cost room so 175 feet long.
Okay, the height okay
and sun and weight
mudru
46,000 tons omuye na when you omuye it came with the cost. The first picture, I say.
I was saying about can I see the first picture? The cost of building the Titanic. It is a picture no photo my na yenhwe na enfan kasem. Over.
1909 there about almost starting say. Womo ba construct and also ba build the Titanic no. Overall cost no 7.5 million
okay
at that time. And no with the back and no more around 200 million US dollars
okay
with inflation and construction and you
okay
and second picture no
the second picture also say the number of ticket passengers aboard into passengers
almost can say a before nipa 3,300
okay
one more ticket one call one 1,317 and son 900 crew members.
Okay.
We musu nyina eka ho bi. Na one more mutual ticket no. One more mutual first class no me 324.
Okay.
And one more second class 284. And one more third class near 709. It is uncle who we now no mutual ticket no. One more shape no subi. The third picture.
The third picture here the number of people who died. The people are moving.
Ekoba say Ave a couple of iceberg now if nipa can say now say the idea we say ni sinking there say na ni nyina no me ka say me at motor school me version bi a night to remember ubeje this no more orchestra e wo shape no so the shape no ba sinking na orchestra from the bo obi ani wa no member or bo instrumental o kan say na dey na atuye omo bo senior nka omo wo hall bi a omo perform na shape no esinki here and you know they were also on board omo bo music violin music string omo twetwe na shape no so kwa na ecoform and esinki here the woman movie no 1517
okay
and a woo and baby no so no woman no say ship no na yi live boats no ye dey ma no so
okay
and na no so say no minimum say na say bentie ma baby ma dia no de ko ba any say ebi no so huri to nsuo no na wo huri to nsuo no wo na hu ntam kwa e che na nsuo no a freezy to some degree say utomu a say na wo e kan no wo je say wo huri to nsuo no yare bi to wo me no hypothermia and I'm say low temperature nsuo no temperature no na low into 79 degrees eventually lead to death. 50 degrees eventually consider death within 1 hour. 32 degrees and you wouldn't need 15 minutes crowd. To be free to na sikani ba kumbi we born in say oh no dia abano e ma na edi kan ye yi wo we are not here for Strauss no we were for Ida only we are kwon live boat we be ko no ba ni say davi onko o be pese da bia ni kunu e be ko bia no obi di na chinti o say free boat no e sa be kan ni kunu no
oh ship no
ndi oni ni nyina na free assassin so
okay
and another rich person what we want to against against Federal Reserve establishment
okay
and bugian ono so address kama that you are so kind that's what kind they say we have dressed up in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen. Ono national kind.
That's when you about the woo.
So I can say ladies dress. Na say man na one medical ko na light boots no so. Any will be ready. But they know ni say o kan wo mu a wo mu so wo mu pen wo mu nti ene yesenki ship.
That's one be.
And mama sa small statistics. I've been here kwa ko first and purpose no.
Okay.
That mean here kwa ko hwe senior na Titanic wo mu share that meaning ye e pam ye first class wo mo first class na tizanya wo 5-star hotel baby nti enko ne enko hwe Titanic
the first video no okay ebiso say na wo fa ka no your first video I see the millionaires wealthy passengers on the Titanic nti senior video no ACT no nti enko ne sa na ye hwe millionaires no wealthy passengers on the Titanic.
America, a new world without limits. Even the sky could not hold back the ambitious. As the buildings grew ever higher, those with enterprise became ever richer. In 1861, there were only 3 millionaires in the United States. By 1900, there were nearly 4,000. And they needed something to spend their millions on. Titanic. Titanic was the largest man-made object that moved. It wasn't simply enormous. It was magnificent in every way. With the British Union flag flying from one side of her and the American stars and stripes at the other, the super rich and powerful had a new toy the century would never forget. The millionaires of 1912, like Mr. and Mrs. Astor, were the equivalent of today's movie stars. The press and public couldn't get enough of them. John Jacob Astor was the wealthiest passenger on Titanic. There were several other millionaires on board, and crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of them. Benjamin Guggenheim, George Widener, and Isidor Straus. Together, their fortunes exceeded $100 million. From the splendour of the suites or Parisian cafe, the crossing was so smooth the passengers thought they were in a first-class hotel. While far below, the newly designed turbine engines were powered by 29 coal-fired boilers, powerful enough to move this 46,000-ton vessel at a speed of 22 knots per hour without spilling anyone's drink. Like most of his contemporaries, J.J. Astor knew all about the technological innovations of the age and had even written a novel on the subject. For the ladies on the upper deck, fashion and gossip were the main sport, while the lower decks were enthralled with their own modest luxuries. Titanic left for New York in April 1912. Neither technological innovation nor wealth was to make any difference. After the impact with the iceberg, Astor, like many others, did not believe the ship was in any serious danger. But soon there was no ignoring the fact that the unsinkable ship was sinking. Astor bade farewell to his 18-year-old bride after helping her into a lifeboat, saying he would see her in the morning. John Jacob Astor, the richest man on board Titanic, died alongside 1,500 others from all classes and all continents, all equal in death. And so the technological triumph of the new century, the epitome of Edwardian engineering, ended in tragedy. As the First World War beckoned, life for the elite and empire would never be the same.
Yɛda sɛ wonya brɛ na wotumi ahwɛ ɛkwan a yɛbuild Titanic no ɛne millionaires bibi a ɔmo dom kɔgu yɛ wohwɛ a ɛdan ne deɛ worship no mu ne places ne chilling place ne entertainment ne deɛ ɛyɛ fɛ yie nti ka wuwu a ɛbɛyɛ dɛ no wafa
Fifi mi da ase na yɛahwɛ no awie no ɛda afei yɛ question no was the Titanic sunk on purpose? The Koba said, JP Morgan, the company be, and your friend own White Star Line, woman build a ship in Ireland. And I know any idea. And I share no, JESUITS, catch and say, I know we, okay, you catch and say, on build a ship no, na. Or Monfanco Cruise. But say a born a man, yes, say, the person said the person they can be a mechanical. And to also say, Emma Yabode. The Coba say, not all rivals be, Sanko for Bubo, Mdins on one person. Oh, you're more rival, business rivals. And you know, JP Morgan, now a training tabon, our investment war, waiting any US, just like the others. Yeah. I don't see. Well, who say it will maybe now US government will hear Sikabi. A combat will rebi, and I know what's our Sikano, a bit me the Ababi Billy a mine. But now JP Morgan Nipa, and you are moving with a moon can say. Say that yeah, and the moons will make sure say, Minko war moons war around. Say, but Brahma, won't family nipa back won't come board. And you are some from nipa won't come board, and you are training tabem. Then, Anna, a coin say investment to be a baby. Well, JP Morgan, dear. That is a yard papa. The son of those who was Sicano, one was an imprint. It's JP Morgan, a career, a junior bee. Anyone who's on order, here must say, Itiminia Federal Reserve Bank, Central Banker, a bit near a bailey out, Biana Bibian, all is all for it. It's a Becca, 1910, when only estates, I know what Jackal Island, and I didn't man, Sanko, I won't call a meeting or home. Okay. The creator of Jackal Island and Sunny Sikayan. Nelson Aldrich ne Piat Andrews ne woman campo Robert Genum Omkoshai finalize yes what muye na Federal Reserve no eba 1910 won shise ye buy no it na be open secret okay yempe na Jesus be mu a Robert build Titanic no say JP Morgan ya but the Titanic no mine in half far no building here last week you can say more buku one places on the ship you JP Morgan but wanko adai na wanko na ebe can be reason ti o so wanko no ebe ba ebe hu video okay enti after 1910, yeah, 1912. They say Titanic, Duma, Jesus for I can say a bay. And the video. I was a video toss a fine legend was the Titanic sunk on purpose. The man can say, well, meaning America for Omukasano. Dirty language ni bi amemwa wo betiti bebre okay mo fa nchemi no and I'm say vital information na ye leak into no mo share evidence no na yimwa chief presenter no o kan because one can bebre there but we know na odbakwa be fe bia be fem okay e be fem so a so ni ma make up nko mudie dia ye mfa no normal mo fa nchemi sa foul language no I got you name I got you, Wafa. I was going to say it's Wafa says that language need be baby. I got you, and one I'm making. And Yebisa said was the Titanic sunk on purpose. Yebisa said Titanic no sank no our purpose and as it be binting or yes na another video and then trust me no I ever share. It I crabra Mr. Sejebu my na enfanka yasem.
People allege, they theorize that this was a financially motivated, politically motivated move by maybe the most powerful man in the world at that time to get rid of his biggest rivals on one particular policy. So we've talked about it before, the creation of the Federal Reserve. There's a great book about how that came to be. The Creature of Jekyll Island is, they basically had this like kind of cartel of these powerful people in the government. They're all kind of together. JP Morgan was the #1 proponent of creating a Federal Reserve, which is like a privatized bank that lends lends the government money, and the idea is that, like, well, you shouldn't be able to have depressions and runs on banks and this and that because the Federal Reserve is really in control of all that. And there's all sorts of issues with central banking, and like it was actually written into the Constitution, but it became there in the 1800s. There were so many instances of runs on the bank that it got to the point where it was like it became a very political issue and a big talking point where it's like, should we have a central bank in the United States or not? And Morgan was like, I want to be, yes, like we got to have this central bank. And he was a guy, he was richer than the United States government for a while.
Oh, shit.
In the 1890s, he was the richest man in the world. And back then, when we talked about like what the fuck happened in 1971, right, where we went off the gold standard, well, you used to be able to have that papered note for $1, and that was redeemable for actual gold, whatever the value was in gold, the weight of it in gold. You could go into a bank, you can go into and just exchange it for gold. And most people did money in dollars. Okay, so they're just like, like it's worth this in gold, but we never actually see the gold. But people who did importing and exporting use it all the time. And so they would need to have a ability to be like, hey, like I'm doing business in New York and in London, and if I'm going to do business and you're going to pay me in dollars, well, then before I go back to London, I need to exchange my dollars at a central bank or a bank for gold, get on a ship, and head across. And when I land in London, I say, here's this fucking sack of gold bricks, whatever, and they'll give me British pounds, and you just continue on with your day. But that was like the standard, and that's how you knew your money had value. It got to the point, I want to say it was in like 1893, Grover Cleveland was a president. The United States government was out of money. They were going to be insolvent. They had like printed too much money. There were these different runs on the banks, and there was one investor in particular who had all these gold bonds with the United States to the tune of $10 million, which was a lot back then. And the United States government, by law, had to have at least $100 million of gold in reserves at all times. They were below that threshold. They were down to like $40 million. And one investor in New York, and JP Morgan had people everywhere, because he would do like he would bail these companies out or invest, and was like, hey, like I'll give you money, but in exchange, you have to put one of my people on your board of directors. And back then there was no SEC. So the only way to really know what was going on with different companies and stock, publicly traded companies, was to have people on the board. So Morgan had people fucking everywhere. And so he knew that one investor in New York was holding this note that was going to come due, that the United States government was going to have to pay him $10 million in gold, and they didn't have it. They only had 9. So that created like this run on banks all over the place. So people were like, hey, I'm going to get my money out for gold now, because I know the paper money is not going to be worth shit. I better get cash in for gold. And that's how the United States got all the way down. Their gold reserves dwindled to $40 million in gold. So Morgan basically does this deal where he's like, I'll give you $60 million to get you back up to that threshold, and we'll attach my name to it, which was worth more than actually the $60 million. And that kind of stabilized the whole market. So he had saved the government. But that led him, and was one of the factors that was like, he became a proponent, like, if I'm doing this anyways, I want to have a central bank, and I want to kind of have, the banking people, the professional bankers, be essentially in charge of it. And it was like a lot of pushback, because it's against, laws in the Constitution, and they just couldn't get it done. And you had these 3 people, very wealthy people in the United States, who were the main opponents of a central bank. They were John Jacob Astor, who we talked about, who was in that movie, mentioned in the movie. Ben Guggenheim. I feel like that's like a museum or a musical theater, but it's the Guggenheim. Everyone's heard of the Guggenheim, but he was like a big deal. And then this other guy named Strauss, and they were like the big rivals of JP Morgan, at least in that elite class of, hey, we don't fucking want a central bank. And they were against the creation of the Federal Reserve, the central bank, and they were all over in London, and they were all going to sail over from Southampton in England to New York, and JP Morgan was as well. And JP Morgan, like I said, he had people everywhere. He owned a company that owned the White Star Line, which owned the Titanic, owned the Titanic. So he was supposed to be on. At the last minute, J.P. Morgan goes, I'm sick. I'm not getting on that boat. And they're like, you're sick? I'm sick. Can't go. I don't feel like I'm just going to stay in bed. Next day, he's out with his mistress shopping for tapestries, going around London, traveling around Europe. Never gets on the boat. One of the reasons that is speculated that as to why he didn't get on the boat is he knew the boat was fatally flawed.
As I say, when you're brave now, with me, I share this small video. And I say, Casamfonia, the brave, we efa a year, Casa, ye Kafa, a choir, Federal Reserve, no, a buyer, JP Morgan, and Institute, Sadi, and there. And go for me and say, be a more posy, now more posy, and Kuriasian, almost me, sure say, ship no, I'm coaching, now, baby, and I am a decker cram, maybe a cow. Ebredu ya yasiu time so na yenko na yenko ship no mu no JP Morgan say oyare oyare okay no problem and here no bi oyare na ade chi ye no no ne mewe fantifo be kaza mewe ye ba o se ne mpena e ko shopping akwaye when kama mate ase say some of fire council or you see statement be say oni ni trimu kwa mo fa so a omo contracting man but sa kasa me yare no e kire say no nim say ye di omo kogum okukum over
one hour kan
pero say kasa kan di sa na che
all the also ntimi ko yare ntimi push ko nso so wanko ndi wo mu ana wo ye ne rivals no omo nyina ko e wo man san wo mu chi amba awe na abe bisa se na we ti Vatican we sim say say be create central bank na ebinum pra e dey na akọ contract obi on build ship na wo mo ya against no yenko pe baabi yenko mo nkusi wo mo nko if I'm human, yeah. Fact, woman who say, Roman Catholic Church, everyone susuyebi, say Pope, only part to one would dinner home, only part one would dinner home, or bad, dear, I was a seas, whatever I'm seeing. Ain't you know? No more, tiara be. Paper tiara. Ahincha etosu miensa. Picture no right. Okay, you for picture into so now fan can answer the paper tiara and all and ahincha wa miensa 3 in 1. Ejina ho ma. Say ewiem need the honor hwesu. Wow. Asasi so need the honor hwesu. Wow. Asasi. You was as Yasimina, Nina, Nidia. Okay, I don't say that's one you. Now, about the kind why Protestants, why Catholics? What kind of extract the Pope? Eddie Ababi see a hatty true reference, baby. Sadia, okay, son of our body, no me twaso, am I? Abodi Dasso, I see the mark of the beast. His name. Now, extract now can say the Pope is also of so great dignity and exerted that he is not a mere man, but as it were God and the vicar of God. The Pope is a such lofty and supreme dignity that, probably speaking, he has not been established in any rank of dignity, but rather has been placed upon the very summit of all ranks of dignities. He is likewise the divine monarchy and a supreme emperor and kings of kings. Hence, the Pope is crowned with a triple crown as king of the heaven and of earth and of the lower regions.
What are the letters supposed to be in the Pope's crown, and what do they signify, if anything?
Well, until the Okin can say, on a review of us as is wow, and yes. And Roman Catholic Church, ever their friend canon law, and only the mother of all laws are a Rubiasi. Canon law. Canon law. All laws are eminently free, Western Yano, free Roman Catholic canon law. There's an fapping for a holy free and a buy. And you know, I quite quiet to say. And now Western Europe started to say FIFA or Benina, and now she share you buy now. For free, canon law. Okay, and on the buy. It is a sign that here. Wouldn't we establish a bank without making reference to the Roman Catholic canon law? Wouldn't we yet in the digger without wouldn't we BB to say uniform commercial code and map without making reference to the Roman Catholic canon law? Into only the mother of all laws are a Rubiasi. And no nature of people, you know, between me or assassins. In the jurisdiction, you know, laws governing airspace, if we canon law, buy. Laws governing assassins, if we canon law. Sea, governing the seas, admiralty law, if we Roman Catholic canon law, and a buy, and Musunti, and a man, one bem, and now what you say, as I say, be Federal Reserve, and I said, maybe because one moon are running banks, it was as so. It says the canon law, maybe a cocody or more. Your Bible should book with. Okay. Does the Vatican hold your mortgage? The greatest story never told. Now, 2 million Roman Catholics, one more, one do yet a near Mawo assassins. Okay. I mean, I can't say, yeah, the events of Federal Reserve of Bar, young penny, a weapon. I'm marking a book room, medical, but the Vatican hold your. But we are not marking, you can't have you, no, jump to no bar. Okay, about the kind a hammer. That's it. I was about to ask the son of a canon. Does the Vatican hold your mortgage? The greatest story never told. By William Thomas. Now, you read our page 11 as has been given to me. In case you are wondering, the never properly rectified U.S. income tax was also introduced by Bushy banksters in 1913 as the only means to finance the wars that ensure perpetual profit from the pyramiding public and corporate debts. The U.S. federal income tax is not federal. Either see the Freedom Form, that is phasing tax video. According to the attorney, author, and federal witness, Paul Andrew, after much diligent research, several investigations have concluded that there is no act of Congress nor any executive order giving IRS lawful jurisdiction to operate within any of the 50 states of the Union. When all the evidence is examined objectively, IRS appears to be a money laundering extortion racket and conspiracy to engage in a pattern of the racketeering activity in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1951 and 1961. That is RICO. In other words, it is an organized crime syndicated operating under false and fraudulent pretensions. As Oster's Mullins helpful explain, and Aaron Rosa DVD, American Freedom to Facing Demonstrators. The IRS is actually a private collection agency for the Federal Reserve System. It is originated as the Black Hand in medieval Italian collector of debt by force and extortion for ruling Italian mob families. All personal income taxes collected by the IRS are required by law to be deposited in the nearest Federal Reserve Bank. Over.
We kind the last.
Okay.
What the kind? Can have me the explaining.
Okay.
Second one
I went down. I said the largest bank in the world today, the Federal Reserve, is one of the greatest contributors or players in international trading. That is, Mullins observes. The Fed gets its orders from the queen mom of all banks, the Banks of England, aka the Bank of Rothschild, considered by many to be the world's most powerful institution. The powerful behind all presidency, dictatorship, and thrones. Does the Bank of England answer to any other bank? Well, yes, actually, the Bank of Rome began opening branch offices in Venice in 1587. Bank of Rome, Vatican Bank, controlled by the Jesuit general, aka the black-headed Saudi Pope. That was on page 12. I see the Jesuit Bank of Rome opened its Bank of England branch in 1694. The first bank to be named after a country, the Bank of England. And nothing to do with the British government except to own a true privately held interest. Compounded debt, get Paul Brigham, excellent money is debt, ammunition parts 1 and 2. Unaccountable to either the Queen or the Parliament, the misleading Labour Bank of England finances the throne, the British Prime Minister, Parliament, and much of the planet out of the city. Located in central London, all major British banks have their main offices in Square Mill, as well as the 70 US banks. Throw in the London Stock Exchange, Lloyd of London, the Baltic Exchange Shipping, Fleet Street Publishing and Newspapers, the London Commodity, and the Metal Exchange, and you are looking at the Earth financial assets.
In the Vatican, Nathan Rothschild, I'm sure Rothschild, Nema 5 more pretty Muko European cities. So Muko take control of countries' central banks. We are successful. Until William the Conqueror time, Britain, and privatizing the man Nathan. Until now, we come Bank of England, a private central bank. A buying check from the album, and one be and another US Federal Reserve. Private bankers, and everybody only the central bank against the laws of the US Constitution. So Congress anyway to me, so be creative sika or distribute to the economy no akoye. But engineer massa Congress no and a dummy authority no edema private bankers. Na me tenteni tete anyina no say Rome and starting J collection bi IRS no and na GGG Roman Catholic sika etuo edima. Actually no
Federal Reserve no beba no and omo say private money and e dey investment ama American economy na timi ahome na mum and am say private money no e betimi ahye enti sabaya dia yama adwumayefo and contribute to no guarantee say sika no enkohye ene kofa IRS ebaye enti na kenkan no mbozo mu challenge say in the US no emebia ni baabi a kire say IRS no legal organization as a digiska enti na say enipa nim say enye enso obi antimenka ene konkon ho a wo mu nso abenye tumi na ebeka IRS ho asem as a yekon but say die Jordan Maxwell ebe bibi ma wohunu say international banking system bia cause we wiase uniform commercial code trading and normal laws near bia cause nyina no nyina go back to the Vatican on the field nyina so don't go tie Jordan Maxwell the next floor
abusa se na tie video to so miensa international banking no video a ye behwe etisa ye krado a jegumu emai
into our modern day society. Our international banking cartels, which control, finance, and organize and direct all of this corruption, wars, and bloodshed, and we're all well aware of that, but most people don't know that international banking cartels go back to the Vatican. The Vatican, as far back as the 5th, 6th, and 7th century, was the power of Europe. The Vatican dominated Europe, and Europe dominated the world. Even the Uniform Commercial Code, the international banking codes of the world, are based on Vatican canon law. I mean, that's why when you walk into a courtroom, why do you have to go to court? Does anybody ever wonder why you go to court? I mean, you play basketball on a court, and you play tennis on a court. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. That's right. It's just a game. Back and forth, they're throwing the ball back at each other, and the judge is there wearing a black robe. Black because of the planet Saturn. Saturn was the god of banking. That's why the judge sits on the bench. Look it up. Look up the word bench. You will find the word bench is a Latin word for a bank. So the judge rules for the bank. He don't care who's going to win or lose. Somebody's going to pay. And he's going to get paid. What does he care? Okay? So consequently, the judge rules for the bank. He sits on the bench. The whole idea is you're in court to play ball back on the court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Why? Because the whole thing is a racket. They're using terms and symbols and emblems. And they're playing on you. You know, a lot of people think, well, these are just play on words. Don't bet on it.
I was here as I said with me a share Kasamphony kakra free Jordan Maxwell where buy and we explaining banking actually international banking ni local banking whatever it is no explaining actually enti me call for na the owners or the attorneys so baba
enti emerenti se ma church no when 23rd December 1913 US Congress sabena Christmas recess ba enti no Congress for no shut down cause we be class go shopping you could di brunya any nema tinipa kakra bi ene buy nti o mo buy nso no news ra me kan say wo mo nim se na be pass bi owi nti mo mra me support ne pass o ne buy nti adi ba me twifa mu yo ene pass e pass ne say abudi ba be create a central bank for US. Private bankers and they will take charge to run the economy of the US. And when we pass later in the day, January 23rd December, by 6 o'clock, and I could pay President Thomas Woodrow Wilson, and now Thomas Nubio, Woodrow Wilson. Ordinance Ashasi ɛna ɛbɛyɛ law the law Congress have passed earlier in the day and you never tinti I didn't know me sir 1912 now America become elections Sabena Woodrow Wilson or president of Princeton University and on the who say politicians he be who say one person will be president then adia on person will be big president no why you say ya the law we eba nti eba ya pass ya make sure say we don't have the chance na be law amai obetimi aya na so ntimi nye and so obetimi aya nti o ka so obetimi aya no first attempt on the law ne call Congress no ye bogu say the president na no ye no Taft no a Republican when we na bi on the to so Nelson Aldrich or connected to international bankers and say the bill no buy the fire no to tune baby don't see what imagine say when we make sure say Federal Reserve emrano emra Republican president and our office and said Democrats it was what we should know me the way I'm going on no I would Wilson no I don't cast what person and the bankers is somebody and on the support too obi wa Republican Party ni financing so on challenge Taft in the elections a year Teddy Roosevelt into almost split Republicans vote and we say na kwa Democrat and we no buy no Congress passing 23rd December 6 o'clock in the evening and they say odinsa shasia ebe emra nti abaya dia and now I can be as I have video no secret terrorists the
kind secret terrorists page 62 also one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century the sinking of the Titanic lies at the door of the Jesuit order. The unsinkable ship, the floating palace, was created to be the tomb for the wealthy who opposed the Federal Reserve System. By April 1912, all opposition to the Federal Reserve was eliminated. In December of the 1913, the Federal Reserve System came into being in the United States. 8 months later, the Jesuits had sufficient funding through the Federal Reserve Bank to begin World War I.
Enti na nhyehyɛ Jesuits no so wɔ no ebi say nya quick money bi a betumi dia finance First World War enu nti ene ani abere sɛ ekwan bia so ɛsɛ Federal Reserve no eba babu pass another bill IRS no sɛ ne MD kan yɛ no sɛ sika aban yɛ de bua no private money yesu anwe na akosi the guarantee yes we are people who say with a system of direct tax bi beba now tax adwumayefo na o make contribution na me serve as a guarantee in secret enshi the one of progressive tax buy a one of progressive tax buy ya IRS no e buy nti e buy no e ma mo Gestapo confiscatory order Gestapo ni sa German ya ka obi nka bi ayi no ya ma sa to me ni say ya ma to me bi a want to tax bia no order some to be confiscating the name because Ghana ha 80s every structural adjustment no buy no so Ghana near Central Income Tax Department and on baby sesano no IRS and a man IRS Ghana to me said Gamibia one tax mun ko to storm ntina na yehu ni sa no na mu hu ni sa enye bibi e ba say ba beboa adan sa tax no a ya gigi no sika na ya gigi no eno ene etuagu IRS won na gigi account mu na ya gigi de bi kan ye no ekogu a na che say central bank also asa the amamo as a form of loan. The loan no ade man ya the man we are making sure say workers that contribute to their taxes. Ya na tigana ha e ka kire say tax no ne de chichire man e de kududu rada sa sika no ekotua interest sika ya je ye no so yes any Federal Reserve and me asesa ya ekodi private bankers in nsem no the only way any say no American government addicted to budget deficit odidi membro so Ghana akra yebi ani akra say media review na ye kwa akoye ni say ye pay additional funds na ban ya supplementary budget we Ghana asem na make America be na me wo ho facts any bibia into American government can say we hear extra money it be a $1 billion. Now they are in say Federal Reserve or maybe 2 million no order America Treasury Department no print sika or print sika ni ba where they are Federal Reserve for one more for buying so $1 billion. So say you bet you face value interest on the 1 billion and the account there say ukya na the money you print amount say the city me wa Federal Reserve so command here no otua about ink any paper how no use you so system way ana cost will be as it become indebted na we ko ya ni no you don't why countries in the world are very indebted because of Federal Reserve. We say, Emre, yanko hear first video. Brother Louis Farrakhan, my history, kakra, medical can be, or the my history of acquiring a fast one Federal Reserve, a BPA, America.
Abusha sero fa kano ye be hwe ekwan a Federal Reserve Bank no e baaye ene a video toso e9 na wo fa kan nyina no they say o man bia no a uje saade no tum no wa be indebted to okay so video now you ready the Federal Reserve Bank ekwan fa so e baaye ayakradwa jegumu mai.
Did you know that from 1900 to 1913, the federal government had a very manageable debt into the millions of dollars? But in 1913, something happened. 4 things were set up in the year 1913. First, the Federal Reserve Bank, the IRS, the FBI, and the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, all were set up in the same year. Is that a coincidence, or is there a tie-in? I don't have time to go into all the details, but by the help of Allah, I'll do that in further writings if it is the will of Allah. But it's enough to say that 2 German Jews, Paul and Felix Warburg, and the international bankers of Europe wined and dined a senator named Nelson Aldrich, who was the maternal grandfather of Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller. And they wined and dined him for 2 years, showing him the central banks of Europe. Senator Aldrich came back to America and was given the job of being a part of the national study of the national monetary system. Nelson Aldrich with Paul Warburg had a secret meeting in Jekyll Island, Georgia, off the coast of Georgia. And in that secret meeting, what came out of it was the basis of the Federal Reserve Act. They tried to get it through Congress under the name the Aldrich Federal Reserve Act. But since Aldrich was so tied to the international banking system, the members of Congress under the leadership of President Taft, they voted it out. So they went back to the drawing board and they redid it. And they pushed it through on December the 22nd, 1913, just as Congress was about to break for the Christmas recess. Wanting to get home quick, they pushed it through. And the Federal Reserve Act became law. But in 1912, there was a great presidential election where William Taft was challenged in his own party by Teddy Roosevelt. Both Roosevelt was financed by some of these international bankers. They hated Taft for his derailing of the Aldrich Federal Reserve Act. So they wanted to get at Taft. But they felt that a Republican shouldn't bring this act before Congress. It would be better if it came through a Democrat. So they same bankers put money behind Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson sold the American presidency to the international bankers. He was elected in 1912, and in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act became law, and the Central Bank of the United States was taken over by a group of private banking institutions. Then somebody else began printing the money. Like Rothschild said, he don't care who rules as long as he controls the purse strings. In 1913, America was not yet at war. In the last winter solstice of the 6,000-year rule of the enemy, America was betrayed by one of her presidents and one of her senators and one of her members of the United States Treasury.
Ase na wanya bre na wetumi ahwe ekwan a Federal Reserve no etumi ebaaye eno na papa yi owo TV issue onya adagire akirechire mu ama we history se na fa shaase no ano saa na papa we so ema we hu bibi e kofa baaye engo wi ase no dio stamp so osan ye no no a Democrat ni nti eno ena ye ka se Federal Reserve has come and stay and forever and ever over
nti sani ọmọ operate no film a Federal Reserve take over ẹma America economy bi di ọmọ nsẹm America aboka enam interest no a wọ́n etua edema Federal Reserve because ọ̀run de oni but interest no a accumulate aban tua no they say America nika odie as of December 2023, $33.1 trillion. Eka America edi Federal Reserve $33.1 trillion. Every year, utua interest, accumulated interest of about 600 billion. And the AGF no. It is no big kind say no akoye. Now I also to Central Bank tied into Federal Reserve. No, I don't know how they say a country. Hey, any a bucko, any a deco, send a Ghana, you did a car. I said, you can't, and the Bema, Yatu Abama, and I said, you're politicizing, you're politicizing. But a system, now you're quite new, you be good in Tia. Korea Central Bank also wabe indebted. Indebtedness no. So want me and try one Federal Reserve System no dia in the can who say eno ano. And I won't try one no. Won't try one ko hifa. And so me asem. Into the last video for today I will show. What I Louis Farah can besa be as I be kan. The entire America and they are the most indebted country in the world. You can hear the last video for the day.
I'm saying that's Senator Fire Kano. Your last video for the day. America is the most indebted country in the world. You know, I see touchable dollars. You know, I'm gonna see and I'm the most indebtable. Green, you know. Green very indebtable there, and the white and blue and yellow here. I'm saying I can't
I'm going to show you why America is in so much debt. The founding fathers of this nation said they did not want private control of a central bank because to them such a bank would be the detriment of this democracy. Thomas Jefferson saw a privately owned central bank as worse than an opposing army. Thomas Jefferson wanted to keep America free from those things that led to the destruction of many nations and governments in Europe. And so a privately owned central bank was unthinkable to the founding fathers of this nation, and therefore it was written in the Constitution that only Congress should have the right to print the money and the instruments of credit. The debt of America is so great that greater hardship is now being planned by the government for the masses of the American people in order to make America solvent. Please.
As I said, when who acquire America for being indebted to the whole world, and I'm the most indebtable people. You see, I'm Ghana, I mean, also yet saying, Tika Kana, one, which I'm at say with Tyrian, and America voted to Tyrian, and there, as you have recorded. So, if I can, I'm at your say, we are seeing the economy, Federal Reserve, and a control, we are saying, in terms of banking system, in terms of finance, in terms of economy. The reason is they say, yeah, they are not private-owned enterprises, and as a private-owned group, and I'm more control the economy. You know? So us living in this country or anywhere in US or any foreign country, whatever it takes, and they say there is a central bank that is linked to the foreign reserve bank. Anything hardship, any whatever is going on, any indebtations, any whatever, anything to offer MRI clear on that note. Senator, over tears, and until we are minor boca, now in Bibia, Yefria, Eva, over.
Oh, Midimanu Babisia. Na Midimsa Asemi American. Economic think tanks Biblia Ghana ha. Omni Federal Reserve Bank. Me maka a private entity. Oh no, that be. And president now appointed chairman and vice chairman. And so next week, you better say public corporation. You be say a private entity as well. You be the manuals.
Some of I can also and see her effa and the other brain effa just to incommodate na wama who say just before you come masemi amwane we asisi kadwete nyina ne we asi gold ni ahode nyina no omo nsem ene wo esan say nyama bebi omo tropiti egu we asi nyina no onko wiase no canal law no ɛhɔ ɛna ɛwɔ esan sɛ bank bi bɛba embre bi bɛba canal law asase ho nsɛm canal law ewiem canal law it means a plane and nam wiem nyinaa no canal law na wey na ma ate asɛ sɛ Israel so edi bi ɛbrɛ na na de enu the ɔde ɛbrɛ esan sɛ last 2 weeks no yɛde man no ama yɛ ho dwiri yɛ ɛna deɛ so the video bɛka ho deɛ a yɛnim esan sɛ ɔno deɛ ɔkasa na wakyerɛ baabi esie no wɔ abusua ugu so a wɔhwɛ Wake Up Africa dwumadie no na senate no yɛgu so a yɛdi nkɔmmɔ ɛfa Jesuit nkɔmmɔdie no ho a ɛnɛ ɛyɛ the part 4 of the Jesuit nkɔmmɔdie na yɛdi nkɔmmɔ no kae sɛ visitation bɛkɔ so abra yɛba bɛsi na wɔtwe foforɔ mu no na visitation no bɛkɔ so on the 13th and 20th of January na 13th no ɛbɛyɛ sunyane ɛyɛ 13th of January 2024 ɛbɛyɛ sunyane na kojo bedi krom so bɛyɛ 20th January saa so ɛna dwumadi no ɛbɛkɔ so ɛwɔ nkronkro ɛka so no nyinaa nso no ne ho nkɔmmɔdie bɛba na yɛsɛ yɛmfa ntom anim sɛ wowɔ kasoa ne ne mpɔtɛ mu a wobɛfrɛ saa nɔma yi ɛsiane sɛ ɛyɛ Wake Up Africa anaasɛ Freedom Man Movement branches no a mo request no wopɛ sɛ wohu baabi a ɔmo wɔ a na memfa nɔma yi ɛnto dwa ma wo na frɛ na hu baabi a ɔmo ta ɛyɛ ɔmo nhyehyɛ anaasɛ ɔmo class. Now, my friend, 0244 888 910 0244 888 910 ofra na unina edin komo fefefe na bibia akosmefe ebusia bebe ewono wa woni tua Wake Up Africa dwumadie no uguso a wo hwe Royal TV edu kwesere bia ebo dumienu kan ekopim no mienu na dwumadie no ewo TV no so na edu bra ebefre asimu a ede no ma no ebeto TV na so fa messages bra na messages no bebre na ena ewa ha na sene be ya behu sampa messages no eba no koso afa bra sa so na Wake Up African listeners group yati no dwumadie no ekoso live koso afa messages bra na yemfa de ho entuatua adusua ekoso platform no so enti se o pese o journey a na later no wa text me na edwa ka ho na wetumi do messages aba yakeka call almost 100 na e pese hit more than 1000 enti o pese o be ka ho a na after the show no na wa text me say add my number but be careful so our platform no so na o ka bibi na nya ye won conform monitor on you every so sene sitie enti be bia de no ko Israel China yen ko tie ni nkomodi a ende oni ho Israel
Marcus
aba
yo with the office or history history ana enya bibi say na edin ni tie Marcus better ye manase ema no omo wiom program no eye mentumi ankobi betuma mo kwa ya no say fantastic efena ya omo pesa omo pon kra nesia omo san ebiom ye ma no edom nyina ase ma Africa ne dom mo ya de fa trochera nya mama ema no no ine ka obi movement we say okay o do mu a ya de sua o ma fo dwene obi won mu a oba no adwene ya sika pe
sa
so ba obenya sika bi we say mean si bi no memba kra memba sana wadwene de memba kra adesua no mu no about better life now o de to na mo na scanner ade aba so oba na wadwene se bia ye wonya nkoma de bia ye ya ni sika de a don't come enye osum bia ye nya nkoma de there be a family a Hebrew family ye ko so wi ase a ye free the pen no na pen no e mo hu se na ekọ ntino fasei ahanyo say covid ma for the kaya pa aso ka for covid won bie no mo a efele ye no so bu no mo ba no say eye ekobi obewura mu a na ku fashion na obotoma yama ko wo mai
ko hono
so benye ska no bia aso de no ma meska asɔre biara yɛ adesua church biara nti bi wɔn mu a otumi gyae n'asɔre na ɔkɔ asɔre foforɔ ɛde ntɛ sɛ nsɔfo no ɔmo nya adeɛ asɔre obi a ɔyɛ biara no Islam o adeɛ o ɛyɛ adesua nipa nhia adesua nye sika nhia nimdeɛ mutumi de abɔbra akɔ anim ɛno nti na yɛyɛ proud sɛ we belongs to a divine movement asɛm a yɛbɛka biara no ɛbɛm nti na manfoɔ ayɛ ma ɔmo TV ho no nti sɛ obi wɔ no a ɔba mu no sɛ ɔyɛ member a n'adwene sɛ ɔsɛ wɔnyɛ sika na ntɛntɛm naa no wɔnyɛ sika daabi saa na before bi no madwene kyerɛ wɔn no ɛsɛ ɔpɛni to wɔkin wɔn yɛ bɛtuma kasa nsɛm ɔsi ɛkyerɛw history ɛkyerɛw deɛ ɛba ɛkyerɛw deɛ ɛbɛsan so bɛdɛ ɛbɛba ne ka kyerɛw nti yɛ wɔdwene sɛ bi a ɔba na me ba na fi no ɔfa yɛ mbɔ mpaeɛ bi ɔsɛ ɔbɔ ma me na fi no me yɛyɛ
special prayers
daabi
bi ni hɔ
wakasa bɔ mpaeɛ na te ho firi bɔne ho na yɛ yɛn kɔpɔn apɛdeɛ na sika no ɛbɛba ɛde ɛma ho yɛn nyinaa no yɛbaeɛ no yɛba sɛ yɛbɛsua adeɛ o yɛbaeɛ sɛ yɛbɛsua adeɛ adesua no mu no ɛna yɛhu anamontuo bi a ɛnɛ ɛtumi ɛkɔ ba yɛnde aban ka yɛnde bank ka a yɛtumi gyina awɔ abrabɔ no mu de sɛ woba na sɛ wayɛ sɛ bi a sika ntina meba deɛ a ɔboa ɛyɛ Hebrew abusuakuo abusua no so ebi ne free the man movement ebi sɛ yɛma wohunu deɛ ewiase no ɛba hwɛ sika aka wasɛ me rɛbɛ nofo yi ɛnim sɛ na ɛde bɛdu ɔman no
sanyɛ saa
ɛbɛsia you see yɛgyaa ɔsɔkwa ne atom ɔpɔmpo ne atom ɛnyɛ yɛ yɛnim ho hwee enti no Michael yɛbɛbi twam no no ɛnɛ mensɛ bi bebree mɛda yɛma no ase wuli Kumase wuli ɔno ne nua Edu dɔm ase
yɛ sisters no so
ɛmaa no kumasefoɔ maa no
mesi wuli
mɛba ha no mo
antestidi ni mami
abɛyɛ mo show ɛmaa no ɔmo tumi tu ɔmo bɔsuo mu efidi nipadɔm wɔ ese ebi wɔ sika o dɛm nhyira mo kumasefoɔ maa dɛm nhyira mo papapapapapapapapa dɛm nhyira mo ɛho ɔmo wɔ yi ɛmu nhyira kyɛn ɔgyeɛ nipadɔm ba ɔmo baayɛ no kumasefoɔ maa nkoa na efidi wɔn mu ɔmo ayɛ adeɛ
ɛna obi bi aso yi ibotom
afei na yɛprepare yɛn ho for the Passover ɛnyɛ deɛ Romafoɔ de aba no a mo nyinaa mo di yɛ no ɛno a mo nyinaa mo di yɛ no ɛnyɛ no ɛna Nyankopɔn kan yɛ Christmas a mo nyinaa mo di yɛ no efi Romafoɔ deɛ Nyankopɔn boa April fo na Nyankopɔn deɛ no ayɛ last year no ebe ne kɛseɛ paa ɛwɔ Kumase Koja Center.
Alright. I can't say Wake Up Africa Yati group almost you know can say 100 messages about. Because I'm on for a trip.
Yeah.
Program no pa.
Yeah, and people say I'm not so Ngokofo is I'm not so yasi. I'm not so yasi.
I was there because I found messages.
The man say when you say yeah. Now what handle me?
Because it surprised me. I now say Yati group be a message in just right now almost about 100 and
I'm for message. I'm for
yeah.
I'm for Paris pa na aya na wo mu nya bi. Nti program we say no do no mo a asɔfoɔ nkramɔfoɔ imamfoɔ nyinaa esua deɛ ɛwɔ ha se nti ɛdɔ fa se na ebu so no sɛ ayɛ available ana wɔn kyerɛ sɛ yɛbɔ bu ɔfabakenkan book biara nka wɔn ho taate no na wɔn nkɔfɔ bi onya bi ɛho maka onya bi obi kɔ kyerɛ ɔkɔva review onya bi ɛdze nsɔfoɔ bi ɔsɛ onya bi
I'm for no man into the one person on top books.
Oh, yeah, be the young books in the end, no, great researcher. Okay, we had there. Men Chebia, Bebe ma amanfo ehun say. The first of say Roman Catholic Church. Amanfo entie ni papa. Say asode bi aba. Na say amanfo timu a omo mo de asode ba ye no, omo bo taya a omo de ti asode no. Roman di kan ba ye. Because say asode bi ne hono mu a e wo ho ne. And so no emfi Roman mu.
Okay.
Bakan ha no boa.
Pa.
Obi nkyanye me se me boa. Asode bi ne hono mu a emfiri so no emfi Roman mu. We are Protestant there. We are enemy ma Roman Church. We are Protestant there. We are enemy ma Roman. Aya na omuka say sister church. Omuka bi sister church. Roman for say mama nkan bi da. Na eye bonesa makasa. Na se ka se asole ya de ya tunum e kan Bible ye di adanse o aso dem hono mo o yo di kama wo mo de aso no ba ye no o mo no nim de course nti am de aso no ba ye so wo mo kasa bia say e dey show you say heaven be wo hono mo abakọ no mo enti obi ana dwene no e show be say no but Roman for say no enti no e be hade kakra bi wa say enche bia e ma won for say asole bia o wiase bia for ene bia no the source no back to what Roman Catholic Church, right? Good. Here Roman for extra book bi na book o metro no o say Vatican. Yes. Protestant, not sisters. Sister churches.
Vatican. Protestant, not sister churches.
Yes. Yeah. The moment for to say ade bia ekoso wasolomu. And your bishop.
Yeah.
You were archbishop.
Yes.
Then you are free. I want free. And to boss of the thing, once the party, no, so I said, on the 10, not tea, about quite back to Roman Catholic Church. Old Testament, no, Sir Bishop, Archbishop, Ebin Honamo. Ebin Sir Tata Casana, Safono, Mamunano, Michael, Old Testament one now, only be one.
Because in baby title cry, oh boss.
Yes.
Which does a title be always saying to cry.
See, I come. And to us, you are also the friend of say, friend of communism or educanism. No, educanism, no, or free Roman, no, or 10 home, no, or 10 educanism. For God's one for Roman, I'm fan to soar, toss and honey free. And to almost say, educana, what else I don't know, or your enemy to the Roman church. Nti wọ́n ka sẹ́ ọmọ yẹ sister churches bi ọmọ kan bi ẹsẹ̀ sẹ́ ọmọ náà ọmọ de ntí a ọmọ tí asọ̀rọ̀ no ẹnna ọmọ nim purpose a bùtàyà a ọmọ de tí asọ̀rọ̀ no ọ̀sà sẹ́ hwẹ́ asọ̀rọ̀ a yàtọ̀ no yẹ wọ asọ̀yàfoɔ wọ asọ̀rọ̀ no mu militiafoɔ a militiafoɔ no wọ́n mọ̀ na mẹ́ka ne bio wọ́n mọ̀ na ọmọ bá Africa ha sẹ́ missionaries. Obi na mo free abrochire aba ya oyo Romani a ose no ye priest keke no ye Jesuit nteli yo obi na hanu mu a abofo ba ha say omo ye missionaries no oyo Romani no onye Jesuit to what ma say ya Roman fo mo free abrochire ba Africa
yeah metiasia pa
omukuta Bible
alisha mamoto
God na cross law come no omunyina no Jesuit. So they came to Africa for a purpose. Yeah. And
the Jesuits in Africa.
Back on my
Papa.
On my check Okay, kind of more. Okay, can hack a buy a check.
Okay.
I'm not buy for a purpose.
Jesuit missionary identify the source of the blue Nile. On the 21st of April 1619, I found myself there with the Assyrian, the sovereign and all his army, climbed a hill and looked down with great attention.
When him say, I'm by say, I'm the new source, I'm an uncle, baby. I'm by am friends them, Michelle Sidinano, I'm buy for a purpose. Brony. Quite a minute castle.
I say,
a quarter before fast no, delicate to her. And you run from about Africa, no, woman, Jesuits. There has to be a deal so on with my Odi. Just to know a militia at the Mapo. Daddy, my girl, me can't assemble. I see.
Okay.
The from maybe England. Mun say the pa of a camp power a kura poop. 2 years a kura poop. Last 2 weeks no me I for mo call and change
the name painful.
Good. Yeah. The case of poop within patwa. Open the kind.
I was going to say within
patwa. 1202.
I am 19.
There be 1202.
Okay.
Now he go to England. Friend King John. King John. And then King Charles.
Okay.
Oh no, nana.
Cancel.
Thank you.
Good.
But some of who say Pope no okuatu mi. Oh yase. Na sa 1207 no. And now for the Pope Innocent that time no. And he kada be say uncle the bishop say uncle head of England or Canterbury. I say there were a boy say apostolic nuncio. Apostolic nuncio.
On any penny pa.
On the peninsula on penny crab about
apostolic
nuncio, yeah. Your mama for whom asole. Genti asole ebaye. Into no, I know ya ambassador Adamu or so Vatican City.
Apostolic nuncio.
Yes. It's in the Pope Bacano or carry. If you see England 1207 or here in the final King John England in your henny. And the Pope say, oh, Stephen Lanton, oh yeah, Archbishop, we don't have to England, no, okay, I saw no, am I? Ọkọ no sana ọhịm no so no ọwọ bu na dwunum Sibilantin na Pope no ba no na na nye no
no
opozi nsi nti wa fa ene die ama Pope toriyo
nti pa
therefore ya can story
and also my half history
okay abakwasem anama ahemfo edi to me so we no abakwasem a you are don kan ho
okay
eti na ye nkola no na by the fireside na ya boja ijatane now therefore me ya otu nkola afo o kan abakwasem e che nkola history head the papa enti no oya sa no na Pope say hey we make nipa head number England now we were here no umpe no man area aya ke jo dia ana wo de obi aba no se mpe Pope have say Pope say ade wa yinti no me twam the whole England man na no mo ko pa ya ka
but on
tell
but the
whole England asante for asante for count for otumfo
okay
na otumfo aye di be etia Pope say otumfo de wa yinti no asante for nyina mo ko happen simple
afimati ase
yes obi wɔ ɔnte ase o deɛ nti a ɔnte ase no sɛ onim tumi a ekura pope no
okay
enti the pope no ka kyerɛ sɛ deɛ wɔyɛ yi wɔbu manimtia enti no wɔne englandfoɔ nyinaa no wɔne nkɔpɔ ntɛm no akakye
ɔno tumi kate
excommunication
excommunicate
the whole England asɛm wɔ sɛ ɛsi 1207
okay
hɔ na mo sɛ amanfoɔ su yɛkɔa ne maka bɛsi no amanfoɔ nim the power of the church nti no ɛma yɛ saa no afei na England no asɔre nkɔ so biom pope twam sɛ mo Englandfoɔ deɛ obie ne hɔ nom a sɛ ɔso Nyankopɔn onim deɛ ntira ɛsiane sɛ yɛse pope no ana yɛ representative ama deɛ Onyankopɔn na pope no akɔ Nyankopɔn nkyɛn dabi ɛno nti na wohɛ no amaaman ahemfo presidents obi nyinaa kɔda nkyɛn no wonim de kɔ so ntira ɔfɔka asɛm bi ɔse the canon law di nyama hɔ yeah the canon law enti afi deɛ na ɔhene no ɔyɛ hwɛ yie ɛsiane sɛ sɛ mesu Nyankopɔn deɛ a ɛna sɛ bɔne a meyɛɛ no Nyankopɔn ho kyɛw na maka bɛma wakan na manfoɔ hunu enti ade ɔyɛɛ no afi deɛ ɔtwerɛ lɛta sɛ ɔbopa kyɛw sɛ wɔayɛ bɔne popofa no bɔne nkyɛ no ɛyɛ saa ɔno ne ma England ma nyinaa no ɔmo ntumi so Nyankopɔn amanfoɔ hu deɛ nti a Roman Catholic Church no ɛwɔ hɔ no mo
ɛno na wɔpɛ sɛ ɔmo te ase
asɔre no sɛ ɔmo hu deɛ nti a ɔmo te asɔre no nti no efi deɛ ɔhene yɛ saa no ɔde n'ahenkyɛ no ɛde kɔmaa sɛ mesrɛ monye mfa mbɔ ne nkyɛ me enti ɛnɛ England akɔnya no ɛyɛ pope deɛ o
abusua yɛtie
na kana ɔmo nti ase
concession that changed the world.
A word can say power. Concession that changed the world. I'm not for new. Yeah. Or you can see more Ghana, you can see pa or Queen ne funeral. The whole Africa. And I'm talking I'm doing affair no. Hey. Funeral no. Nya de ketwa. Nya de ketwa. Nya de ketwa. Na hwɛ sɛ the whole ahindie no ɛnyɛ dia biem we yanka wonim da
esi kyam so
yanka wonim da nti Charles ɔyɛ bɔbɔy ɛde pope ɛne kankan
abusua kind Senate concession that changed the world. Summary: royal decision made 800 years ago still have a profound effect on today's political landscape.
They say, "Man, can I say I go for the program the pa? The could be the better ha. Na wakakasa no. English in there na aboa papa. Ana na for the baby.
Okay.
Enti no mapagalo na say agbeno na yakọ no. For villain and call for no. Some such as read the English, read it well for them to understand. Why?
I was saying, I can't send it in page 1. I shall see. I say in 1207, Pope Innocent III installed Stephen Lantin as the Archbishop of Canterbury. King John of the England has another candidate in mind and refused to acknowledge Lantin, which, according to Pope Innocent III, was an act of impious persecution. Innocent eventually excommunicated King John for his stubbornness. Was his stubbornness?
Well, if I did the ama pope, stubbornness.
Yes. Bearing him for God's forgiveness caused John causing John to write a concession that would change the course of history. As a result, the Pope laid on England on interdict 1208 to 14.
Oh, John, I love old man. Book you about baby no date no. E wo mu pep. So we say o say sha. Bo nti bo date no ma fo mu say e facts.
As a result, the Pope laid on England on interdict, an interdict 1208 to 14, a sort of religious strike wherein no religious service be performed
the whole
for anyone.
I saw the name of Obesity. Pope, I'm sorry. I do Afare, me say, among for him, the mother of the church now was no one for him. I'm telling you. I was
almost 200 more family.
Okay. Me say, among for him say program we say you be among for do no money. Afare church. Church you know, I know.
Wajina adi.
You know. Yeah, coach in the conference say o team no. Liverpool club. Liverpool crack them. Obi academ. Obi for the whole England no. Obi ho ya sorry. Aje sorry. Okay, yeah. Me do okay.
Mate.
Afa ene. I go for you mistake wa say. Afa for bi a mistake. People say obi shira mema awale so. Africa asafo bi asate hwe yempene kofui omunim the tour of Canada.
John F.
Kennedy. I'm telling you. Now we back next week. Yes, next week we back so. Papa Kasa won't say.
Now he more Kasa kura mo change.
Papa Kasa won't say. Na Ghana ne ba ko wa sana no. On the money channel. Maybe we have a ball. Until the trust no we.
I was saying paragraph 2 where how na kind free. I say as a result, the Pope laid on England in interdict, an interdict 1208 to 14, a sort of religious strike, where in no religious service be performed for anyone guilty or innocent. When this didn't work, the king himself was excommunicated. Having in under that pressure, John wrote a letter of concession to the Pope, hoping to have the interdict and excommunication lifted in 1213. John's concession, which is in effect made England a fiefdom of Rome, worked like a charm. The satisfied Pope lifted the yoke he had hung on the people of England, and their king, emphasized added. Soon after writing the concession, King John couldn't keep up with his necessary payment to Rome. So in 1215, he broke the concession by signing the
Magna Carta.
Magna Carta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Power to rule. That's the meaning.
Latin word.
Power to rule.
Magna Carta.
Yeah.
At that time, Pope Innocent took official ownership of the crown.
What?
King John broke the terms of this charter by signing the Magna Carta on June 15, 1215. Remember, the penalty for breaking the 1213 agreement was the loss of crown, right to the kingdom, to the Pope and his Roman Church. It says so quite plainly, to formally and lawfully take the crown from the royal monarchies of England by an act of declaration. On August 24th, 1215, Pope Innocent III annulled the Magna Carta. Later in the year, he placed an interdict, that is prohibition, on the entire British Empire. From that time until today, the English monarchy and the entire British crown belong to the Pope.
Thank you. I feel it. What I say? What I say? Obu Romano knew the power of the Catholic. Yeah, yes, how book will say, or therefore, my man. Didn't you have Pope? Yes, I don't. The kind.
Okay, you go a kind a confirmation Pope versus Kings, and only Abudi Adaso. A B. I say the power of the popes. The Pope, sorry, the Pope was the head of the Christian Church in Western Europe.
Head. Western Europe. Why?
The Pope had great power because so many people belonged to the church. 3. People saw the Pope as God's representative on earth.
What?
4. The Pope could cast from the church or excommunicate enemies. King John. 5. Popes had great political and spiritual power.
African bishops no omoya no
Marco Pacho.
Marco, I know because sister church. Me dey be Hebrew ni.
Yeah.
I don't belong to any religious body. No, Roman from the asol bae no. Asol nya fi o ma se. To am dey say me Protestant no. Dom dey bene. So mo bia nka bi da. Mo bia nka bi da. Say sister church. Yeah.
I was saying go so Vatican, the Protestant, not sister churches.
Thank you.
Vatican official proclaimed Protestant churches, not sister churches, to the Roman Catholic faith. You so do maybe by October 23rd, the year 2000 and by. I said the Vatican has dealt a blow to Catholic Protestants relation by reaffirming its doubt about the validity of the Protestant churches and by official ordering Catholic bishop not to use the term sister churches.
What's it?
In reference to them, an official note by the Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger.
Samano, no, Pope Benedict XVI.
Okay.
Sabino, Pope. Na Pope don't put an hour. No, a cardinal. And a true way said by say. If you know, a bishop who woman more, men cassa, I saw to be a sister church bill.
Okay.
Na a young suit. Woman can be that. Now let her Pope don't pause or try, and then soon ye. It sounds like here, woman didn't hear, I saw the buyer.
Okay.
No for more. No.
Okay.
Quite.
We'll see a Tuesday, 5th September 2000 by a time at by 1 o'clock past 17 minutes GMT and a by. Now I say Vatican declaration provoke churches. Catholic doctrine teaches that Roman is the mother church. The Protestant church leaders have expressed their disappointment at a document issued by the Vatican which reaffirmed the Catholic stance on other churches. The Dominion Issues Declaration, which has been written by a close aide of Pope John Paul II, says that the Roman Catholic Church is the mother of all Christian denominations and that it is incorrect to refer to the Church of England and other Protestant churches as sister organizations on a pair with Rome.
What?
At the Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. George Carey said the document risks pouring cold water on decades of proof.
You know, I saw the beer, named the entire a buyer. Obi biara won't be our free biano. I want the woman share faith biano or your enemy. That's all really. What's on? The first of the sea, the first of the sea, the first of the sea. That's a new Roman Quadia or your enemy.
Okay.
You know, make on. I'm going to say.
Okay.
Good. Until we enemy are you who say we enemy. No more. I don't say I'm going to say. Our doctrine. Christmas ɛna adansɔsɔre no ɔmo de yɛ adwuma ɔmo new year 1st January na ɔmo nyinaa de yɛ adwuma right good ɔmo baptism ɔmo nyinaa no ɛde yɛ adwuma communion ɔhɔ ne fere na ɔmo nyinaa de yɛ adwuma na mɔmɔ no ɔmo sɛ mɔmɔ nkanta sɛ ɛyɛ sister church although the ekuta biara no ɛna mo de yɛ adwuma no but we are the mother of all churches. We are the mother of all churches. Country woman na unga say mo ye sister. Sister there say oyinia tempena sa. Nti no obi na oka say oye sister church a ohene bi a yekunu no etwa de ba ma ko church pope no. Oye Protestant. Oye Protestant against the pope and the church. So do okwa sole a na say asodo no bi enye Roma no no ka say Roma na onim tumi a Roma wo ahemfo dwan o popo anim ahemfo amampanifo edu no ma omokoto omaka asi wo say ono no oye hene e wo wiase asase so ni suase o bofo so ko pedama okunama e popo bia asase so no krantia popo dia kunsu asna ko chishaka popo dia no maka no amafo no omunim enti no obu no mu a okọ asore but ignorant onim dia asore no ye ebaaye enti no asore dia ye dia heaven ye kọ na Roman for dia o da bi onu dia woka o ta se onim dia oka and until now saying, however, the Messiah say Roman is the holiest church in the world. When you say a ho no source no when the free back. She how we see a partnership or him. No, baby. The King of England, John. He the way almost come Abraham Lincoln, then F. Kennedy. The sender, so. That's what she white he representing Obadia obviously. Until the mayor was something Jumadia or Vijay. And go from one week. The Sarah thing for Obadia Honomo. African 4 bishops no. Omo yedi and sembi atomo. Omo yedi of a cell creature at the bottom night. Omo ye at the second atomo minimum. Pupa kasa say a man and ma what the mushras one say Debbie any week abese na sese ene wonya botre na wetumi ahye eye Jesuit nkomodiria no Israel nkroma ode ne fa ede abawiye na emse mi bodin say Wake Up Africa eye TV show ya TV group ni sisi anu menya 314 messages concerning about add me na maybe you know ya be fa course na you read message back me be say ebre no ene ade atia ene nkomo no eye de no na bibia e course pepepe na ya be call eye WhatsApp first na ya ko kan message wo ho na ewia na ya ba normal SMS no so na ya toa so na WhatsApp de no almost 120 na aba e be so betumi akan ni nyina na ya sha se video di kan ede ne de e ba ye ebi mu di voice note na me say voice note na de entumi emmon e wa ha emma I say thanks very much for this wonderful message. I'm shocked about this Roman whole thing. That's it. We just say, hi Michael, I am Prince. Kindly add me. Okay, that's it. I'm say message now. We just say, my name is okay. I'm sorry, I'm funny dini number. I be saying you call out the can or the Jumedi so but you be afraid with the Wake Up Africa Jumedi.
Yeah, see.
Papa.
The more highway.
Major do Papa.
With the family Dennis here, Mamma Takawada.
Matias here.
Member of Israel Basopa, Ego, and then someone will be so. Now Jumedi we know, a Jumedi strong cry. The attorney said the Jesuit system now more kind of. Meaning say mugusu komo ni mu a mo be bansem bi so nanso ye ni temamufo na ye ti na wasi tie mo with seriousness because mo be being some so wet the Jesuit now a old method again amugusu ka say you know DSC bribi no now so the current one na kasankasa na we na say your politicians yi any material policy jumedi omudie one come out bimpo na we ya so the crowd they will attack you we a businessman na the one belong to omo atwin any no ka they will attack you and to the share mampenda da nkroma happen so oba ya okoye aban be na akobo besia ya bisa so besia na okoboye no de no dikosia owa yakuafo nsa asiya nsa asiya menu asi wo me nso yakuafo no so de omo achi da akobo wo so ne de niam asie wo mu so ati ase na so ne nyina so ata mo nipa na ban se ono na ene dia good ni mineral resource na se fo no enti de ne de kobo bi hade na sanchofo ni mi sa aban mo mpanifo ni se aban yi okobo besia ne ba ne de na dikosia owa was able to know and no country anymore. And the Jesuit system has been all round. And if you way of moving just a few people here before the sermon, and I'm going to create say, yeah, not to hopeful. So I say, after politics, after Sodimu, after the beer, and see, Yadamasan interest, Papa, Mukusa, Musacha, and I mean, now say, they say, be a dear way, what the positiveness, what the positive natural, and what the negativeness, and the young who say, Bonnie BSC, Medawasi. Yeah, that's also the Abba. I said the ideology of religion is believed, and belief does not make it factual. Never believe what you don't know. I'm saying another caller about so much maybe afraid feeling with the Wake Up Africa Jumedi.
Hello.
Hello, Chairman.
Hello.
Hello, Batome Tonga.
I don't know if you
about your tongue.
I said, Miss Reflecting. Na Ajuma Moye. Ajuma Moye. Mr. Yamishira. Emma of a Poku Dampane. Israel say Yamamo meeting. Now, Omunko to me and
yes, yeah, that's it. So, we do messages. Abba, Abusha Kosa Fabra, Nana, the message in India, Mekambi. I said, please, this is what I want to know more about this Jesuit order. Maybe some is close into my house. I can detect them. Another caller, Babacho, baby, Alfred, with the Wake Up Africa, Jumedi.
Pacho, me free Akumada, a friend, blessed guy.
Oh, blessed guy, young quay.
Yeah, cool.
Me tell you, Bacho, young Gasa.
Pacho, me Tinikasa.
Bacho, young
me Pacho, problem I want me there. And can you see anything? Young to Africa one time. Young to Africa there 5 to 10 years. Because when we say Africa, no, I say, you're quite in your busianti, I say, Yama, you say, I drain in your juma. Until you shut down Africa for 5 to 10 years. Near your money, as I say, you to me, yeah. Share opening more car about America, a car one day, and a Ghana car, you deny your come once. And yet, you be a draw, young shed the America. A cana or modeno, the Omodiaye. Nian Shakana Ghana, Yadeno, the Yadiaye. Because meaning what America say they are indebted high so much, because almost for more than $32 trillion. They work more than that. But look at Ghana. Young guy, the year is almost 800 billion. We don't work like the debt that we own. We don't work that much. And only a problem. You don't need a problem because if you can't continue now, you can say, yeah, I find a way about religion. Religion, the baby, and the side effects come because a person born and now the top Africans. That's religion. They just came to screw up, nothing else. Well, it's a way. You to be here and dress up here now, which you know, I am not correct. Probably. Nipa to why you can't say the PIA was here, because one day I baby I say, no, they are truffle. They say, I saw for good book room and crown, the Cabal, Muslim, some kind of some kind of crown. It's arm of the other. Yeah, that's a bit brave. Say what to me. That's it, be brave. Also, good afternoon. My name is Opoku, watching you from Koforidua. Please, I want to know from Nkrumah, is he saying that even Stephen Adumiche Dia
church is also generated from Catholic Church. And will be some media and you'll be one. I was a dwumadie no sɛ ɛsi tie no ɛbrɛ ɛma yɛ kwan na sɛ baabi a ayɛ doko na ayɛ dɛdɛdɛdɛdɛdɛ nanso na ɛbrɛ no nti na biribia ɛɛka akyira ma yɛ na dwumadie wohwɛ Royal TV ɛdi kɔsɛde bi ɛbɔ du mmienu ɛkɔpem no mmienu na dwumadie no ɛtuatua na kae sɛ ɛne dwumadie no ɛfa ɛyɛ Jesuit nkɔmmɔdie no ɛyɛ part 4 mpanyinfoɔ a wɔboa ɛmɛ ndɛ dwumadie no ɛkɔɔ so ɛyɛ wɔ Fire Pokuda nkɔ ɔyɛ executive director Emma Freedom Mind Movement Sasuna Israel Nkuma the national coordinator. Emi Mike Amika say me na me di dwumadi mu chame Emma ende de bibia e course so kama. Na kai say na wotwe biom no ye be say hia na bibia akoso pepepe ama ye nyina. Enti tami kutu na ne mani age me ka say ye bie ye Wake Up Africa TV show learners no she say I hit 350 messages eba. Koso afabra e kire say mo hwe program no ampa. E do bibia say motumi enya adagere na mahwe program no obade nka mo ho na watwe biom yenhia na emfa Jesuit nkɔmmɔdie no ento aso